संसारदवानललीढलोका त्राणाय कारुण्यघना घना त्वम् प्राप्तस्य कल्याणगुणार्णवस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् महाप्रभो कीर्तन नृत्य गीता वादित्रमाद्यान् मनसोरसेना रोमाञ्चकं पाशुतरङ्गभाजो वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीविग्रहाराधननित्यनाना शृङ्गारतान्मन्दिरमर्जुनादो युक्तस्य भक्तांश्च नियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् चतुर्विधा श्रीभगवत्प्रसादो स्वाद्वन्नतृप्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्घान् कृत्वैव तृप्तिं भजता सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीराधिका माधवयोरपार माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्ना प्रतीक्षणास्वादनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् निकुञ्जयूनो रतिकेलिसिद्ध्यै यायालिभिर्युक्तिरपेक्षणीया तत्रादिदाक्षादतिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् साक्षाद्धरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रैरुक्तस्तथा भाव्यतैव सद्धि किन्तु प्रभोर्य प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसाद यस्य प्रसादात् न गति कुतोऽपि यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसाद यस्य प्रसादात् न गति कुतोऽपि ध्यायन्तु वांसस्य यशस्ति सान्ध्यां वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् ध्यायन्तु वांसस्य यशस्ति सान्ध्यां वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् 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 ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद् हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की। इस्कॉन ब्यूटी फाउंडर आचार्य जगत गुरु सेवर ऑफ द होल वर्ल्ड शिल प्रभुपाद की। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद् हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की। नामाचार्य शिल हरदास ठाकुर की। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की। गंगा माई यमुना माई की। भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की। कलियुग पावन श्री हरनाम संकीर्तन की। श्रील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की। दाय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Praladaladaine Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha Shilatankanana Kalaye Tankananalaye Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha Yato Yato Yamitato Narsimha Bahe Narsimho Hridaye Narsimho Narasimha Madim Sharanam Prapade Tavakara Kamalavare Nakam Abhyuta Singam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanuvrindam Kesavadirata Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Kesavadirata Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare जय नरसिंह देव जयो नरसिंह देव जयो नरसिंह देव जयो नरसिंह देव जयो भक्ता प्रहलाद जयो भक्ता प्रहलाद जयो भक्ता प्रहलाद जयो भक्ता प्रहलाद जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः राधा कृष्ण सेवा भावो ये अभिलाषी राधा कृष्ण सेवा भावो ये अभिलाषी जे तुम्हार शरण लो तारा वांछा पूर्ण होय कृपा कोरी करो तारे वृंदावन वासी कृपा युगल रूपराशि युगल रूपराशि ये निवेदन दारो साखीर अनुगत करो सेवा अधिकार दिए करो निज दासी दीन कृष्ण दासे को ये न मोरा होय श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदा ये नवासी श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदा ये नवासी नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पादे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पादे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव वृन्दाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिप्रदे देवी सत्तवत्ताय नमो नमः वृन्दाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिप्रदे देवी सत्तवत्ताय नमो नमः वृन्दाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिप्रदे देवी सत्तवत्ताय नमो नमः वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय
Thus within my vision I shall behold the beautiful pastime Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me follow our Kara dance of the Virgin. Please give me the privileged devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen lowly son of Krishna prays. May I always swim in the love of Shri Radha and Govinda. Srimati Tulasi Maharani ki jai. There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting holy name that should be avoided, and they are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated lives for the propagation of holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider the name of the demigods of Lord Shiva, Brahma, to be equal to independent name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the order of spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature pursuant to Vedic version. 5. To consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation of the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activity and strength of chanting holy name. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna one of the auspicious ritualistic activities, offering the Vedas fruity activities, karma, kanda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about glorious holy name. 10. To not complete faith in the chanting holy names, and to maintain material attachment in your understanding. So many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense with inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us have a most humble obeisances on all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just as I trees who can fulfill to everyone. They are full compassion, fallen conditioned souls. Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam ki jai. Cheto Tarpana Marjanam Bhavamaha Davakni Nirvapanam Shriya Gairava Chantrika Vitaranam Vidyavatu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamita Sadhanam Sarvatmasnapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namagari Bhahuda Nija Sarva Shakti Tatra Pita Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha Etatishi Tava Kripa Bhagavam Mamapi Durudevami Disham Yahajani Nanurakaha Trinatapi Sunicena Tarorapi Sachnuna Amanina Manatena Kirtanya Sada Harihi na thanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama jammani jamanishvare bhavata bhaktir haituki toi ayinanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame pavam pudo kripaya tava pada pankaja stithaduri satesham vichintaya nayanam karadashurudharaya vadanam gadgada rudaya gira Pulaka nichitam vapurkada tava nama grahane bhavishyati yuga itam nimishena chakshusha pravisha itam shunya itam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me ashrisava padaratam pinnashtumam adarshanam marmhatam karotuva yatha tatha va vitatha lampato matprana nathastu sa eva na paraha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Shri Chaitanya Shastakam Ki Jai. Glory to Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life for repeated births and deaths. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays and benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases ocean transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which always anxious. Oh my Lord, we are benediction human beings. Thus there are hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh my Lord, our kind name was easily approached by holy name. But I'm so unfortunate I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than joy and street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any never follower. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Saha Marjananda, I'm your eternal servitor, yet somehow I fall into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me on the Adam's and lotus feet. Oh my Lord, when I be decorated tears of love, whenever my body stand and the recitation of your name. Oh Govinda, feeling of separation, I'm considered moment to be like great millennium. Tears are flowing from eyes like torrents of rain, and feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything, everything, for he is always my worshipable Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Shastakam Ki Jai. Shri Mangala Aarti prayers Ki Jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurung Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Ragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhuitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pachada Desha Dharini Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namini Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhavin Namaha Madhuryo Jalapremadya Shrupanuga Bhaktita Shri Gaura Karna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostate Namaste Gauravani Shri Mutaye Dinadarini Rupanuga Viruddha Pasiddhanta Dvantaharini Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Mutaye Vipalambara Sambodhe Padam Pujayate Namaha Namo Bhaktivinodaya Sachidananda Namini Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gauravir Bhava Bhumishtam Nirdishta Sajanapriya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathaya Te Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhishta Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate
Krishna
Krishnaya
Krishna
Krishna
Chaitanya
Chaitanya Namne
Namne
Gaurati
Gurichise
Namaha
Namaha
Panchatatvatmakam
Panchatatvatmakam
Krishnam
Krishnam
Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam
Bhaktarupakam
Bhaktavataram
Bhaktavataram
Bhaktakyam
Bhaktakyam
Namami
Namami
Bhakta
Bhaktasaktikam
Shaktikam
Hey
Hey
Krishna
Krishna
Karuna
Karuna
Sindhu
Sindho
Dinabandhu
Dinabandho
Jagatpate
Jagatpate
Gopisha
Gopesha
Gopika
Gopika
Kanta
Kanta
Radha
Radha
Kanta
Kanta
Namostute
Namostute Jaitam
Jayatam
Shuddho
Suratur
Pango
Pangur
Mama
Mama
Manda
Manda
Mater
Matir
Gati
Gati
Matsarva
Matsarva Swapadam
Swapadam
Bujur
Bojo
Radha
Radha
Madana
Madana
Mohano
Mohano
Divyad Vrindaranya
Divyadvrindaranya
Kalpadumadaha
Kalpadumadaha
Shimad Ratnagara
Shimadranagara
Simhasanastito
Simhasanasto
Shimad
Shrimad
Radha
Radha
Shila
Shila
Govinda
Govinda
Devo
Devo
Pristali
Pristali
Bihi
Sevyamano
Sevyamano Smarami
Smarami
Shiman
Shriman Rasa
Rasa
Rasarambi
Rasarambi
Vamsivata
Vamsivata
Tatastita
Tatastita
Karshan
Karsan
Venu Saner
Venusmane
Gopir
Gopir
Gopinatha
Gopinata
Shri
Shviyestuna
Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi
Gaurangi
Radhe
Radhe
Vrindavaneshwari
Vrindavaneshwari
Vishabhanu
Vishabhanustute
Sute
Devi
Devi
Pranamami
Pranamami
Hari Priye
Haripriye Jai
Jai Shri
Shri
Krishna
Krishna
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri
Shri
Advaita Gadadhar
Gadadhara
Shivasadi
Shivasadi
Gaur
Gaura
Bhaktivinoda
Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
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 Rama
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama
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 Rama Rama
Rama Hare
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 Hare Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai Ishvara
Ishvara
Parama
Parama
Krishna
Krishna
Sachitananda
Sachidananda
Vigraha
Vigraha
Anadiradi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chintamani Prakadasatma Sakalpa Vriksha Laksha Pite Susuravira Vipalyantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambrama Sevyamanam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Brajami Venam Pranantam Aravinda Dalaya Taksham Parhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Sobham Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kalasadvana Malya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam Shamam Chibanga Lalita Nita Prakasam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Anjani Yasya Sakalendriya Vritti Manti Pasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Aladim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vede Sudurlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Satavatsara Sampragamyo Vayo Ratapi Manaso Manipungaman So Pyastiyat Prapada Simya Vichintya Tattve Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chayatum Jagadanda Kotim Yaschakti Rasti Jagadanda Chayayadanta Andanta Rasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Dio Manachasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhusa Suktarya Meva Nigama Pratitashtuvanti Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasad Pratibhavita Bhista Birya Eva Nijarupa Taya Kalabi Goloka Eva Nivasata Kilatma Bhutto Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksa Deva Hilesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukala Yamena Tistan Nanavataram Akarod Bhuvane Sukintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Purnamyo Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai. So we're going to recite a few more mantras now for the glorification of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1 and then 1.1.2 and 1.1.3. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadasya Yata Divyaditaratascha Teswa Vigyaswarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Dikavaye Muyanti Yatsurayaha Tejo Varimidam Yata Vinimaya Yata Sarga Musha Damna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dimahi Dharma Prajota Kaitavotra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivatam Tapo Trayon Milanam Shrimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Vaparir Ishwaraha Sadyo Hridi Avarutyate Tra Kriti Bihi Susubhistakshanat Nigama Kalpatarur Galitam Phalam Sukamukad Amrita Dravyasam Yutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasam Alayam Uhur Aho Trasika Vibhavukaha. Oh my Lord. Oh, let's see. You didn't read the issue, the Brahma Samhita. Yeah, go ahead.
Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme godhead. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. I worship Govinda, the primeval lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desire, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. I worship Govinda, the primeval lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock's feather, with a figure of beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids. I worship Govinda, the primeval lord, round whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers beautified with the moon locket, whose two hands are adorned with the flute and jeweled ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Shamasundara is eternally manifest. I worship Govinda, the primeval lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane. I worship Govinda, the primeval lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha. Yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. I worship Govinda, the primeval lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands of millions of years. He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe, at one and at the same time. Such is the primal Lord whom I adore. I adore the same Govinda, the primal Lord, in whose praise men, who are imbued with devotion, sing the mantra suktas told by the Vedas, by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments. I worship Govinda, the primal Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities, in the company of her confident Sakhis, embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa. I worship Govinda, the primal Lord, who is Shamasundara Krishna himself with inconceivable innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts with the eye of devotion tinged with a salve of love. I worship Govinda, the primal Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the forms of Rama, Nrisimha, Vamana, etc., as his subject to portion.
Thank you. Okay, so now we are also going to recite the glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1, 1.1.2, and 1.1.3. O my Lord Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion. As one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen on fire, or fire seen or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of material nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. The Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Grantaraj ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gurvani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj ki jai. Today we're going to read Canto 3, Chapter 9, text number 15. Did we do it yesterday? Yeah, okay, so it's number 16. Yuva aham cha girishascha vibhu swayam cha sthit udbhava pralaya hetava atmamulam vidvachipad vavrida eka uduparorhas Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Bhuvana Drumaya. Ya, one who. Vai, certainly. Ahamcha, also I. Girisha, cha, also Shiva. Vibhu, the Almighty. Swayam, personality. As Vishnu, cha, and sthiti, maintenance, udbhava, creation, pralaya, dissolution, hetava, the causes, atma moolam, self-rooted, bitva, having penetrated, tripad, three trunks, vavrade, grew, eka, one without a second, uru, many, parorha, branches, tasmai, unto him, nama, obeisances, bhagavate, unto the personality of Godhead, bhuvana drumaya, unto the tree of the planetary system. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Your leadership is the prime root of the tree of the planetary systems. This tree has grown by first penetrating the material nature in three trunks, as me, Shiva, and you, the Almighty. In other words, Brahma, Shiva, and then Paramatma. For creation, maintenance, and dissolution. And we three have grown with many branches. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you, the tree of the cosmic manifestation. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Who would like to read? Anybody?
The cosmic manifestation is grossly divided into three worlds: the upper, lower, and middle planetary systems. And then it broadens into the cosmos of 14 planetary systems, with the manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead at the supreme root. Material nature, which appears to be the cause of the cosmic manifestation, is only the agency or energy of the Lord. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, 10th verse. Maya jakshena prakriti suyate sa characharam. Only under the superintendence of the Supreme Lord does material nature appear to be the cause of all creation, maintenance, and dissolution. The Lord expands Himself into three: Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva, for maintenance, creation, and destruction, respectively. Of the three principal agents controlling the three modes of material nature, Vishnu is the Almighty. Even though He is within material nature for the purpose of maintenance, He is not controlled by the laws of material nature. The other two, Brahma and Shiva, although almost as greatly powerful as Vishnu, are within the control of the material energy of the Supreme Lord. The conception of many gods controlling the many departments of material nature is ill conceived of by the foolish pantheist. God is one without a second, and He is the primal cause of all causes. As there are many departmental heads of governmental affairs, so there are many heads of management of the universal affairs. Due to a poor fund of knowledge, the impersonalist does not believe in the personal management of things as they are. But in this verse, it is clearly explained that everything is personal and nothing is impersonal. We have already discussed this point in the introduction, and it is confirmed here in this verse. The tree of the material manifestation is described in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita as an Ashwatha tree whose root is upward. We have actual experience of such a tree when we see the shadow of a tree on the bank of a reservoir of water. The reflection of the tree on the water appears to hang down from its upward roots. The tree of creation described here is only a shadow of the reality, which is Parabrahman, Vishnu. In the internal potency manifested in the Vaikuntha, Lokas, the actual tree exists, and the tree reflected in the material nature is only the shadow of this actual tree. The impersonalist theory that Brahman is void of all variegatedness is false, because the shadow tree described in Bhagavad Gita cannot exist without being the reflection of a real tree. The real tree is situated in the eternal existence of spiritual nature, full of transcendental varieties, and Lord Vishnu is the root of that tree also. The root is the same, the Lord, both for the real tree and the false. But the false tree is only the perverted reflection of the real tree. The Lord, being the real tree, is here offered obeisances by Brahma on his own behalf and also on behalf of Lord Shiva.
Very good. This, of course, is extremely profound purport. First of all, if you, I'm pretty sure you know the meaning, but just to be sure, it says the conception of many gods controlling the many departments of material nature is ill-conceived by the foolish pantheist. Pantheist is a person who believes that there are many, many gods. So that's the condition of the many Hindus. They believe there are many gods and they're all equal. That, of course, is not true. So it says, God is one without a second, and He is the primal cause of all causes. This proves that Krishna consciousness is monotheistic. Believe in one supreme God. Look that word up, monotheistic. The way Hinduism is taught in schools, when they do talk about it, is that Hinduism is polytheistic. But actually, Krishna consciousness is strictly monotheistic. Go ahead, what does it mean?
It says relating to or characterized by the belief that there is only one God.
Okay, well, yeah, but one supreme God. So, and now look, polytheistic or pantheist. Look up pantheist, Pantheist. What? What? Yeah. Yeah.
So pantheism believes that the universe is conceived of as a whole is God, and conversely that there is no God but combined substance, forces and laws that are manifested in the existing universe.
So they believe that the whole universe is God, right? All right, now look up polytheist.
So the belief in or worship of more than one God.
Okay, believe that there are many gods.
Yeah,
and usually they consider them all equal. So we have the pantheists, you believe that the whole material nature is God. You have the polytheists that believe that there are many gods and they're all equal. And you have the monotheists that believes there's only one supreme God. So we accept that there are other powerful, let's say, gods in the sense that they have powers, but there's only one supreme personality of Godhead, that's Lord Krishna. Everyone else is subordinate to him. Okay, so if we understand these things, then we can begin to explain in a very cogent way. Cogent means powerful or convincing way. Now you see how much confusion there is in the world. Not only in Hinduism, but even in Christianity. Islam is clear about one thing. They say there's only one God, right? Wahad Allah. So that way they got something right. Their understanding of Allah is not clear. It's mostly impersonal. But at least they believe that there is one God. Christians, they say there's God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. So that gets into a little bit of confusion right there. And then they equate the Son and the Father as one. That's modern Protestants do that. That gets really confusing. So therefore they say Jesus is God. Although it says in the Bible Jesus is the Son of God. So they made their own hodgepodge right there. Okay, now there's another thing that I wanted to go over, and then we'll get back to this. That is, if we look at the Ishopanishad, Mantra 17, and Vairanilam Amritam Atedam Basmantam Sariram Om Krato Smara Kritam Smara Krato Smara Kritam Swara. This is a prayer we should say at the moment of, or right near the moment of death. What is this prayer? It says, let this temporary body be burnt to ashes, and let the air of life be merged into the totality of air. Now, O my Lord, please remember all my sacrifices, and because you are the ultimate beneficiary, please remember all that I have done for you. Well, even if you don't say this prayer, Krishna will remember all your sacrifices and everything that we did for him. He's not a, let's say, he knows better than we do what we have done. But this is a nice prayer to say near the moment of death. So, Vayu Anilam Amritam Atedam Basmantam Sararam Om Kratus Smara Kritam Smara Kratus Smara Kritam Smara. Now, in the purport, if you go 1, 2, 3, 4 pages into the purport, some very interesting information is given about the Brahma Jyoti. So let me read a little bit earlier than that, and then we'll get to the main point that I want to make. So if we look at the 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph of the Mantra 17 of Ishopanishad, the 4th paragraph. Here in the material world, material nature forces the living entity to change his body due to his different desires for sense gratification. These desires are represented in the various species of life, from germs to the most perfected material bodies, those of Brahma and the demigods. Wow, that's an amazing statement. From the germs, there's like a one cell germ, all the way up to the Brahma and the demigods. All of these living entities have bodies composed of matter in different shapes. The intelligent man sees oneness not in the variety of the bodies, but in the spiritual identity. The spiritual spark, which is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, is the same whether he is in a body of a hog or in the body of a demigod. The living entity takes on different bodies according to his pious and vicious activities. The human body is highly developed and has full consciousness. According to the Bhagavad Gita 7:19, the most perfect man, could be woman also, surrenders unto the Lord after many, many lifetimes of culturing knowledge. The culture of knowledge reaches perfection only when the knower comes to the point of surrendering unto the Supreme Lord Vasudeva. So we surrender to Guru and Krishna, right? So if we make that decision of, initiation, which basically means you surrender to the instructions of the Guru, who simply repeats the instructions of Krishna, then Bahanam Janmanam Ante Gyanavamam Papadyante Vasudeva Samamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. After many, many years of speculation, one may come to the point of understanding Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Krishna, you are everything. Such a person is very rare. So, how can we become that rare person? It's by having association with pure devotees. And the purest devotee we know of is Srila Prabhupada and the Vaishnava Acharyas. So if we come in contact with Prabhupada through his books, through his devotees, we are extremely fortunate. You don't understand how fortunate we are. There's nowhere else that you could get this knowledge so complete and so, let's say, impelling. So it says, according to Bhagavad Gita 7:19, the most perfect man surrenders unto the Lord after many, many lifetimes of culturing knowledge. The culture of knowledge reaches perfection only when the knower comes to the point of surrendering unto the Supreme Lord. Sharanam, surrendering. Vasudeva. So when we're talking about Vasudeva, it means Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. when we say Vasudeva, it means the father of Krishna, Vasudeva. So when it's a short A, it's the father. When it's a long A, it's the son, Krishna. Otherwise, even after attaining knowledge of one's spiritual identity, if one does not come to the point of knowing that the living entities are eternal parts and parcels of the whole, and can never become the whole, one has to fall down again into the material atmosphere. Indeed, one must fall down even if he has become one with the Brahmajyoti. So we see that the position of the Brahmajyoti is actually a fallen position. It's already a fallen position. Why? Because there's no devotional service there. Now we're going to hear something that proves that everything is personal. There's no such thing as impersonal. As we have learned from previous mantras, the Brahmajyoti emanating from the transcendental body of the Lord is full of spiritual sparks that are individual entities with full sense of existence. Sometimes these living entities want to enjoy their senses, and therefore they are placed in the material world to become false lords under the dictation of the senses. Okay, so the Brahmajyoti is made up of infinite spiritual sparks, or jivas, that are individual entities with the full sense of existence. So the Brahmajyoti is not really impersonal. It just looks like that. You see? Sometimes these living entities want to enjoy their senses, and therefore they are placed in the material world to become false lords under the dictation of the senses. The desire for lordship is the material disease of the living being. For under the spell of sense enjoyment, he transmigrates through the various bodies manifested in the material world. Becoming one with the Brahmajyoti does not represent mature knowledge. Well, that just proves how misleading the Mayavadis are. They say it's the ultimate stage of self-realization. It is not. It's far from that. Becoming one with the Brahmajyoti does not represent mature knowledge. Only by surrendering unto the Lord completely and developing one's sense of spiritual service does one reach the highest perfectional stage. In this mantra, the living entity prays to enter the spiritual kingdom of God after relinquishing his material body and material air. The devotee prays to the Lord to remember his activities and the sacrifices he has performed before his material body is turned into ashes. He makes this prayer at the time of death with full consciousness of his past deeds and of the ultimate goal. One who is completely under the rule of material nature remembers the heinous, meaning horrible, activities he performed during the existence of his material body, and consequently he gets another material body after death. Okay, now that's a very significant statement right there. What does it mean? One who is completely under the rule of material nature. In other words, he or she is acting as if they are the Purusha instead of acting as the Prakriti, the servant, the humble servant of the Lord. So they're trying to control material nature or some part of it. So one who is completely under the rule of material nature remembers the heinous activities he performed during the existence of his material body. So in other words, at the moment of death, instead of seeing Krishna, you remember all the nonsense, or we remember, the materialist remembers all the nonsense things they did during their lifetime. All the illicit sex, all the drinking and wine and all that, all the money transactions and buying this and buying that. and all the intoxication and all these sinful activities, staying up really late, watching television, this thing, that thing. All of that, that's what they're going to see at the moment of death. And it happens real quickly. It all comes in front of you. So if you haven't done any devotional service, then this is all you're going to see, is all the nonsense that you did, and you get another material body, and it's no guarantee that it's a human being. The Bhagavad Gita 8.6 confirms this truth. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavan tijat ante kalevaram tam tam evaiti konteya satatad bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Thus the mind carries the living entity's propensities into the next life. This should be enough to convince us to get real serious about Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, what are we going to see at the moment of death? All the nonsense that we did. Meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, cheating, lying, controlling people's lives, getting people into argument. That's called the village. The village game. The village game is there's no television in the village, right? Now there is, but before there was no television. So what did people do for entertainment? They learned how to get two people to argue by innuendo. Look at that word up, innuendo. I-N. N, two N's, E-W-E-N-D-A. Innuendo.
An elusive or oblique remark or hint, typically.
Okay, start over again.
Innuendo. An elusive.
What?
Elusive.
Illusory.
Elusive. A-L-L-U-S-I-V.
An allusion. A-L-L-U.
S-I-V. Yeah. An
An
allusive
illusion. Okay, that's like, all right, go ahead.
or oblique remark.
Or what?
Oblique.
Oblique, not
Oblique.
oblique. Oblique remark.
Oblique remark or hint.
Okay, allusion means you're referring to something. Or an oblique remark. It's something that is misleading. That's what an oblique remark is. It's something that's misleading. And then go ahead.
Typically a suggestive or disparaging one.
Yes. So Prabhupada gives an example of that. There were two men talking about a third man. And they were all like, probably they all went to school together when they were younger. And one of the men says to the other, he said, you know, so-and-so, he became a Supreme Court judge. And the other one says, well, I think he bribed his way into that. So that is an oblique or an allusion or an oblique statement that is actually misleading, right? So this was the what you would call the entertainment in the village. People knew how to say things that would mislead others to believe that someone is not actually a good person. And then there would be an argument eventually. And then they were not involved in the argument. They created the conditions for the argument between two other people. And then they just watch it. That's their entertainment. That's their television entertainment. Have you ever experienced anything like that? So that's village entertainment, right? When you don't have a television, so you create your own, what you would call, your own false narrative and see two other people get into an argument, and you just sit back and enjoy it. Unfortunately, this is things that actually still happen. Okay, so thus the mind carries the living entity's propensities into the next life. So therefore, we have to be very careful what enters into the mind. So there was one person that moved into a new neighborhood, and he went around, or she went around, and introduced themselves to all the neighbors and said, you know, if there's anything I can do, you can just ask me. You know, I want to be a good neighbor. So some of the neighbors came to see the husband and wife, and they said, yes, there is something you can do for us, please. And they said, what is that? They said, you know, we have a lot of problem with this trash. It costs a lot of money. Can we bring our trash to your house? And they said, yes, 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 please do that. We want to be a good neighbor. So pretty soon, their house was so full of trash, they had to move out and go somewhere else. So this is what's happening. If we let trash enter into our mind, eventually the mind gets so contaminated, you lose control of it, right? And you become overwhelmed with nonsense. So this is what's happening to young kids. They don't realize how dangerous this is. They could go their whole life with nonsense in the brain. And at the moment of death, instead of thinking about Krishna, they're going to see all this nonsense that they did. This control of the mind and the senses through practice of Krishna consciousness is the most important thing. Because you could look like you're a devotee, but if in the mind there's a nightclub going on of sense gratification and material desires, we're going to be defeated. At the moment of death, we're not going to see Krishna. We're going to see all the nonsense that we cultivated. So we have to be very careful to be always, let's say, vigilant to strictly follow Krishna consciousness and keep the mind focused on Krishna. Okay, I wanted to make that point. Are there any questions about that?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, just a question, like, how did we read about Isopanisha's 17th verse as part of the purport of
I didn't
Srimad Bhagavatam?
understand what you say.
Isopanisha's 17th verse, how did we come to that? First of all, why did we read that purport?
Today?
Yeah, today. Because there are reference to the Srimad Bhagavatam verse, I'm not finding a reference.
To the you don't see the connection to the
Yeah,
verse
that's
that
what
we read today.
Yeah, that's what the confusion.
Yeah, because I wanted to especially make the point that the Brahma Jyoti is not impersonal, actually. It's full of infinite jivas. And the Mayavadi conception of the Brahma Jyoti is actually wrong. And then there's extra stuff that comes in with that I read also because it's very interesting to understand. But in the verse today it says, your lordship is the prime root of the tree of the planetary systems. This tree has grown by first penetrating the material nature in three trunks, as me, meaning Brahma, Shiva, and you, the Almighty, for creation, maintenance, and dissolution. And we three have grown with many branches. Therefore I offer my obeisances unto you, the tree of the cosmic manifestation. So when we become duped or cheated by hearing mundane knowledge, it takes our mind away from Krishna and keeps it completely focused on material things. This is how dangerous modern education is. This is what these kids are subjected to every day in television, in movies, in books, in required reading in school. And unless we realize the devastating effect it has on their mind, on our minds also, if we have those weaknesses, we're going to fail in the objective of going back to Godhead. We're not going to see Krishna at the moment of death. We're going to see all the nonsense that we did at the moment of death. And this validates that, what I read today. So does that answer your question?
So, Maharaj, just after where you stopped reading, the next paragraph says, unlike the simple animals, we have no developed mind. The dying human being can remember the activities of his life like dreams at night. Therefore, his mind remains surcharged with material desires, and consequently he cannot enter into the spiritual kingdom with a spiritual body. So here, unlike the simple animals, we have no developed mind. Oh, that's right, yeah. Unlike the simple animals who have no developed mind. So in case of simple animals, at the time of death, they don't get all these desires or anything. So they just complete and then move on to the next journey in their evolution of consciousness. Whereas humans...
So they're going to progress, we're going to regress. Because our mind is full of junk. All the junk things we did. All the sex, all the intoxication, all the meat eating, all the parties, all the sleepovers, all this, all that, all the speculation. There's a Russian scientist now. He's saying, the Americans didn't go to the moon. The whole thing is a hoax. He said, I've studied this. They say they went to the moon in the 1960s. But they can't go to the moon now. And then they're saying, we'll go to the moon in the future. He said, this is nonsense. In the 1960s, they didn't have the technology to go to the moon. And there's no evidence that they did. You see how it can take years and years and generations for the truth to come out. But when the truth is such a big lie, people are afraid to accept it. You see. So, therefore, the Nazis, they knew, if you're going to lie, you make a big lie. You make such a big lie that people are afraid to deny it. Because if they deny it, they lose their whole platform, they lose the whole basis on which they were living. So this whole idea that we went to the moon, but actually we didn't, that would be such a shock, because all these years they've been teaching that we went to the moon. You see, so you make a big enough lie, then people are afraid to hear the truth, because it would ruin the whole basis of their life and beliefs. These are all interesting points to discuss. Okay, we'll stop right there. Okay, yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I want to get some more clarity on the soul. Soul needs to be treated as a personal form or personal feature. But when we read Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, it comes across as an impersonal.
10th chapter?
Second chapter.
Second chapter of Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah, the soul, it comes as it's impersonal.
Well, can you read what you think Bhagavad Gita says that?
Like, for example, if you read second chapter, 25th verse.
25th verse?
25th verse. It is said, the translation, it is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. So this translation here, it comes as the soul is a impersonal, that is something
Okay,
different from
read it,
you.
Read it slowly again. The soul is?
Invisible, inconceivable.
Yes. Do you see your soul right now?
No, Maharaj.
Okay.
Inconceivable.
Okay. So, inconceivable, it's because it's saying that the soul is eternal. Right now, we see ourselves getting old and we know we're going to die, so it doesn't look like we're eternal. Go ahead.
Immutable.
It means that the soul is never changing, whereas the body is always changing. So we think that the soul is changing because we identify with the body.
And knowing this, you should not grieve for the body.
Right.
So how do we explain to somebody?
It's not impersonal. It's saying that it is highly personal because the soul is eternal. It never changes. But because we have a body that's always changing, we get fooled by it. You see, this is what the Mayavadis do. They say, well, because you can't understand what the soul is because they don't even believe that there's an eternal soul. They believe there's only one soul, the Brahman. They don't believe that the jivas are all individual souls. They don't believe the material world exists. They say it's an illusion. All these are false principles. So it's not saying, when it says the soul is immutable, it means it can never change. It's eternal. It can never change. That is emphasizing the eternality of the soul, which will definitely differentiate the soul from the body, which is always changing. So the body and its changes is something that is misleading. But the fact that the soul is eternal and cannot change is the reality. So rather than being impersonal, it's supporting the individual eternal reality of the soul. So when it says, okay, say those three words again. It is?
Invisible.
Okay, so you don't see the soul right now. You see the effects of the soul.
Yeah.
You're living. Go ahead.
Inconceivable.
Because can you imagine an eternal soul that is never changing, that has an eternal relationship with Krishna? So it's inconceivable for us because we're so attached to the body and the fact that it's changing all the time. Go ahead.
And immutable.
It cannot change. It's eternal. So if we understand this, we become a devotee. It's personal. This is who we are actually. We have an eternal soul. It can never change. It has an eternal relationship with Krishna. We're part and parcel of Krishna. This is supporting individuality. But when the Mayavadis say there's no individual soul, there's only one soul, now they're denying the existence of your soul. And the fact that you have an eternal identity as servant of the Lord, they're denying all that. They put you in a position where there's no devotional service. That's the Brahmajyoti. And even their understanding of the Brahmajyoti is false, because the Brahmajyoti is made up of infinite number of jivas. It's not made up of just light. There are pencils of light. Each one of those pencils of light is a jiva who has an eternal soul. So even their understanding of the Brahman effulgence is wrong.
So Maharaj, even Brahmajyoti we should consider as a personal because it's numerous jivas.
Yeah. Yes. But it's a place where there's no devotional service. So that is confusing.
Yeah.
Because it's already a fallen position. We'll talk some more about this. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Bandha Mohi Savadhana Mate Jahara Prasade Bhai E Bhavatoriya Jai Krishna Prapti Hoy Jahan Hoy Te Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chittete Koriya Aikya Arna Kori Ho Mane Asha Sri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati E Prasade Pure Sarva Asha चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशा जाते वेदे गाय जहाँ रचरितो गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu Lokana Lokera Jivana Lokena Lokera Jivana Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Aha Prabhu Koro Daya Deho More Pada Chaya Aha Prabhu Koro Daya Deho More Pada Chaya Eve Jas Gusuk Tribhuvana Ebe Jas Gusuk Tribhuvana Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Patyacha Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य आश्रत श्री भक्तवृंद शीला प्रभुपाद गोस्वामी महाराज की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नमाचार्य शिला हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद की सामेत भक्त वृंद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories. Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By this grace, by his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my conscience purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is a perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord birth after birth. From him ecstatic preeminence. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto me. Give me the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. We take the shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.